NBC has announced plans for a spin-off to the hit series Suits. It will focus on Meghan Markle's character's struggle to balance her legal career while also caring for an unemployed immigrant. A Christmas photo released by the royal family features a bad Photoshop job where Prince Louis's finger appears to be missing. And this is sweet. Meghan Markle said she has a finger they can use if they need it.
Like, my life was so hard. Everybody's f***ing life is hard.
Yeah,
you were the prince of
That's
a
true.
goddamn country who dressed up as a fucking Nazi, and now you're trying to come back as the Pope? Suck it.
My brother's fiance, Miss Meghan Markle, is on the American program Suits.
Yes, Wednesdays, 8 p.m, USA Network.
The only difference between that show and this is people watch this one.
Prince Harry announced he's getting married to American actress Meghan Markle. And this is super exciting for a lot of people. I mean, because they come from different worlds, you know? Her mom is black, his family's super white, she's an actress, he's on welfare. Like, it's so romantic.
Now for the tricky part. Place in microwave. What is microwave? I don't think we have any of that.
Are you fucking dumb?
It's a microwave, silly.
Don't talk to me like that, you bitch! I'm a fucking duchess! Shake that off!
Oh!
Harry, whose memoir just broke the Guinness record for fastest selling nonfiction book of all time. The story of Prince Harold and his frozen yogurt slinger is so popular, they're now releasing a version for kids. I don't know if you know about this. It's a twist on The Princess and the Pea. It's called The Prince and the Penis, and it's
If you had lunch with Meghan Markle, you'd be stunned at how dumb she was. Not because she's black, because I wouldn't think she was black if I looked at her, because she's an actress who was on the show Suits.
Meghan Markle is a lifelong feminist, which she's demonstrated by marrying a prince and giving up her job.
Meghan Markle just picked up the kind of title nobody wants attached to their name in 2025. And no, there is no applause for that. It is the kind of label that makes people stop, blink, and wonder how things got this messy so fast. For someone who once seemed like a fresh new face stepping into royal life, the public image now looks completely different.
So at the end of the year, 2025, Ranker.com put out a list of the most disliked celebrities. But let's just for the fun of it, let's just look at the top 5, okay? Leading up to Meghan.
And the backlash has turned into a full-on spectacle. Before Prince Harry, Meghan was not exactly a giant pop culture force people were obsessing over every day. She had a role on a legal drama. She had some recognition, sure, but she was not moving the whole celebrity world with one headline. Then suddenly, in just a few years, her name was everywhere, and not in the glowing, untouchable way a lot of stars hope for. Comics started cracking jokes, late-night hosts piled on, animated shows took shots, and even puppet satire got involved. That is when people started asking the real question: how did this turn into such an open season moment? And the wildest part is this: a lot of critics felt she made it easy for them. The material kept showing up on its own. It was not just the jokes that stunned people, it was the names delivering them. These were not faceless trolls throwing comments online. These were major celebrities, polished media pros, and A-list comedians who usually know exactly when to stay quiet. People with giant platforms do not usually swing unless they think the audience is already with them, and in Meghan's case, one after another, they decided to take that shot anyway. That is what made it feel bigger than regular celebrity shade. Viewers were not just reacting to another famous person getting roasted.
Gone on, Oprah, I didn't know. I had no idea how racist they were. It's the royal family. You didn't Google these motherfuckers? What the f*** is she talking about? She didn't know. The fuck? It's the royal family. They're the original racists. That's like marrying into the Budweiser family and going, they drink a lot. These motherfuckers invested in slavery like it was Shark Tank. They're so racist. They wanted to know how brown the baby's gonna be. I'm like, that's not racist. Because even black people want to know how brown the baby gonna be. Shit.
They were watching a moment where even the safest voices in entertainment stopped playing nice. So people started wondering what changed. What was it that made so many well-known names stop handling her with care? Why did the usual Hollywood protections suddenly look weak or maybe vanish completely? That is where this whole thing starts to get loud. Because once the first major comic opened that door, the rest did not seem scared to walk through it. And one of the first names people point to is Chris Rock. He did not just toss out a quick joke and move on. He went straight at Meghan's public narrative and challenged the way it had been presented to the world. To a lot of viewers, that moment hit hard because he was not whispering around the topic. He was blunt, direct, and completely unbothered by the fallout. Chris Rock zeroed in on the Oprah interview and the shock Meghan expressed about royal family issues. His basic point was simple. How do you marry into one of the oldest and most scrutinized institutions on earth and then act stunned that it comes with baggage? He framed it in a way that got people talking fast, and that is why the joke spread so hard. Then he touched the palace conversation about the baby's skin color, and this was the part that made the room tighten up. Chris said, "That's not racism. Even black families ask that question." Once he said that on stage, a lot of people felt the conversation had shifted in a huge way. For many critics, that was the moment the floodgates blew wide open.
Just a great series about a rich, white, dysfunctional family, all scheming. Oh no, that's The Crown. That's The Crown. I'm sorry. How great was Imelda Staunton in The Crown? Wasn't she amazing? Her portrayal of the Queen was so good, Prince Harry called her for it and asked her for money. Turns out Prince Harry and Meghan Markle will still get paid millions of dollars for doing absolutely nothing. And that's just by Netflix.
Because now it was not just random commentators questioning Meghan's version of events. It was a famous black comedian saying out loud what plenty of people had clearly already been thinking. Whether people agreed with him or not, the impact was obvious. The joke landed, the clip travelled, and suddenly the tone around Meghan in mainstream entertainment looked a lot rougher and a lot less protective. Then Joe Coy came in and pushed it even further, and he did not do it in some little club tucked away from the cameras. He did it at the Golden Globes, in front of a room packed with huge stars and industry power players. That setting mattered. Award show hosts are usually expected to keep it cute, keep it light, toss in a few safe lines, and keep the mood smooth. Joe Coy did not really play that game. He compared Harry and Meghan's story to a rich family drama where not much actually happens, and the audience reaction told its own story right there in the room. What made that joke sting was how clean it was. One sharp line, and people instantly got it. No long setup, no heavy explanation, no dancing around it. Then the attention moved to the Netflix deal, and this is where the ridicule really started to build. Harry and Meghan reportedly signed a massive agreement worth millions, but critics kept asking the same thing over and over. What exactly came out of it that people truly cared about?
Prince Harry, whose memoir just broke the Guinness record for fastest-selling nonfiction book of all time. The story of Prince Harold and his frozen yogurt slinger is so popular, they're now releasing a version for kids. I don't know if you know about this. It's a twist on The Princess and the Pea. It's called The Prince.
The 60 Minutes interview was a great chance to hear Harry and Meghan's story, in case you missed their 2-hour sit-down with Oprah or their 6-part Netflix documentary.
Meghan Markle has finally revealed why she and Prince Harry call each other M and H.
And he'll say M and you'll say H and your friends say M and it just is a thing.
It's a thing.
And do you both love it?
Yes, and I like nicknames a lot.
What could it be? A mystery for the ages.
What was the big cultural payoff? That question kept hanging in the air, and comedians noticed it fast. So when Joe Coy joked about them on live television, it was not just funny to the crowd because of the wording, it was funny because the audience already knew the debate behind it. That laugh felt like a signal. It showed where public patience was leaning. Then Jimmy Kimmel stepped in and went for a different angle. He pointed to the claim that Harry and Meghan wanted distance from racism and asked people to consider the fact that they moved to America. He did not even need to over-explain the irony. He let the setup do the work, and the audience connected the dots for themselves. After that, Kimmel turned to Harry's memoir, and that part got brutal in a whole different way. Here was a prince, born into wealth, status, global fame, and old-world power, writing a huge book about pain, betrayal, and struggle. Whether people sympathized or rolled their eyes, the late-night crowd saw easy material there. Kimmel treated the whole thing less like a serious literary event and more like an oversized complaint wrapped in royal packaging. That is what made viewers laugh, but it is also what made others get irritated, because beneath the joke was a more serious criticism about family secrets being turned into profit. That point kept coming back again and again with Harry and Meghan's critics. It was not just that they complained, it was that so many people felt they monetized the family drama in public while still trying to claim the moral high ground. Grandmother, father, brother, private tensions, personal wounds, all of it became global content. Kimmel barely had to add anything extra. He just pointed at the situation, let the contradiction sit there, and the crowd did the rest. Jimmy Fallon took a different route, and weirdly, that may have made his jab hit even harder. He did not go after palace scandals or giant accusations. He went after the small, everyday lifestyle content that made Meghan seem out of touch to some viewers. The pretzel moment became the perfect example. Not cooking, not creating some genius recipe, not doing anything especially new, just moving pretzels from one bag into another container. Fallon brought it up, and the audience reaction was part confusion, part disbelief. Because to a lot of ordinary people, that kind of content felt wildly disconnected from real life. Here was a celebrity living in a mansion, surrounded by money, influence, and luxury, making a basic snack transfer look like meaningful lifestyle advice. Critics saw that and thought, seriously, this is what we are doing now. It stopped feeling charming to them and started feeling staged, glossy, and way too detached from the world regular people actually live in every day. Then there were the interviews, and this is the part that kept making people side-eye the whole privacy message. Oprah, Netflix, 60 Minutes. More cameras, more specials, more emotional sit-downs, more highly produced storytelling. Every time the message was about peace, boundaries, and wanting space. But every time, there they were again, directly in front of another massive audience. For critics, that contradiction was impossible to ignore, and the more it happened, the less convincing the privacy argument sounded. At some point, many viewers stopped seeing it as a couple simply telling their side and started seeing it as a couple that could not let go of the spotlight. Fair or unfair, that became the image problem. The media appearances kept stacking up, and every new one gave comedians fresh material. That is why Stephen Colbert barely had to work for his punchline when Meghan casually revealed that she and Harry call each other H and M, like the store. She said it sincerely, but the internet heard branding, not intimacy, and Colbert knew exactly how silly that sounded on TV. He just let the moment breathe, looked toward the camera, and the audience cracked up, because that tiny detail seemed to capture the whole issue in one neat package. This couple said they wanted a normal private life, but somehow everything still came out polished, marketable, and oddly performative. Matching initials, media deals, public storytelling, curated image. It all started to feel less like escape and more like a rebrand. And once that perception locked in, every joke after that hit even harder. What made this part of the backlash hit so hard was how the whole thing stopped looking like a real love story to critics and started looking like a slick PR move in designer clothes. To a lot of viewers, normal couples do not go on television and casually reveal their little nicknames like they are unveiling a brand refresh. That does not feel private or sweet. It feels polished, calculated, and built for attention. And once people started seeing it that way, every public moment after that felt less romantic and more like promotion. Colin Jost picked up on that mood before a lot of other people did, and he said the part many critics were already thinking but did not want to say out loud. His point was brutal because it cut straight to the middle of the problem. In the eyes of a lot of people, Harry and Meghan did not seem fully wanted anywhere anymore. America was not embracing them the way they may have expected. Britain did not seem eager to welcome them back either. So they ended up looking stuck in some strange in-between space, with no clear lane, no steady purpose, and no strong identity beyond the drama itself. That image made the jokes even sharper. To critics, they looked like two people who blew up a powerful old world and then ended up with something much smaller than what they gave away. Instead of royal relevance, they now had a Montecito zip code, expensive media deals, and a public image that seemed to get shakier every time they tried to explain it. That is why the mockery kept spreading. The contrast was just too big. They traded history, mystique, and royal status for a lifestyle brand vibe that many people felt nobody really asked for. Then Jost made it even more cutting by focusing on Harry himself. Before Meghan, Harry was still seen as flawed, reckless at times, and definitely messy. But he was also known, important, and deeply tied to history. He had a place. He had a role. He had public meaning that reached far beyond celebrity fame. Even when people criticized him, they still knew exactly what he represented. He was a prince with a built-in place in one of the most watched families on earth. That kind of relevance is not easy to replace, and once he stepped away from it, the question hanging in the air became obvious. What did Harry really get in return for giving all that up? Critics answered that question in the harshest way possible. They argued that Meghan did not elevate him at all. They argued that she pulled him away from the one structure that gave him lasting weight and left him in a much thinner version of public life. That is the rough angle comedians kept pushing. In their telling, he traded history for confusion, status for noise, and purpose for image control. It was savage, but it landed because the audience instantly understood the point being made. Then came Saturday Night Live, and once that show turned their marriage into a punchline, the public tone shifted even more. Because when the biggest comedy show in America makes your relationship the joke, something changes. At that point, you are not being treated like a serious couple trying to build a new life. You are being treated like a symbol of public contradiction. You become shorthand for overexposure, for celebrity performance, and for a love story that has started sounding more like content than reality. That is a brutal place for any famous couple to end up. Trevor Noah's role in all this is one of the most interesting parts because he did not start out as one of Meghan's critics. In fact, early on, he sounded like someone who was very willing to defend her. He criticized the royal family, pointed at their problems, and came off like he understood why Meghan had supporters. That is why his shift mattered so much. When someone starts from a sympathetic position and later changes their view, it feels bigger. It does not sound like lazy pile-on energy. It sounds like something made them stop and see the story differently. For Trevor, that turning point seemed to be the Disney premiere moment involving Harry and Bob Iger. The image alone was enough to make people talk. Here was Prince Harry at a major event, not just showing up and enjoying the night, but reportedly moving through the room and trying to help secure a voice role for Meghan. To some people, that may look supportive. But to critics, especially comedians, it looked desperate and painfully small compared to the life Harry once had. A prince working the carpet like a talent rep was not exactly the image of royal power people were used to. That is what made Trevor's comment hit so hard. He framed it against what royal marriages used to mean in history. Those marriages were once about influence, alliances, legacy, and serious power across generations. That was the old scale of royalty. So when that huge history gets compared to Harry seemingly asking whether Meghan could do cartoon voice work, the contrast becomes almost absurd. It made the fairy tale look smaller, thinner, and much more transactional than grand. And once critics saw that, they started calling the whole thing a hustle dressed up as destiny. And once that idea gets in your head, it is hard to shake. Trevor's shift mattered because he no longer seemed to be looking at a misunderstood couple trying to protect their peace. He seemed to be looking at an expensive, polished operation built around access, fame, and positioning. That changed the tone of the whole conversation. The problem was no longer just what Harry and Meghan said. It was what their actions started to suggest. And what critics believed they saw was a strategy, not just a romance. Bill Maher then came in and gave the backlash a much sharper frame, and that is why so many people nodded along with him. His argument was that Harry and Meghan wanted two opposite things at the same time. They wanted the sympathy of victims, but they also wanted the reach, wealth, and visibility that come from turning that victim story into a giant public product. That contradiction was the heart of his criticism. In his view, they kept saying they hated attention while constantly stepping back in front of more cameras to talk about how much attention had hurt them. That point landed because it was so easy for the audience to recognize. Say you want privacy, then do a documentary. Say you are tired of the spotlight, then launch another interview. Say the media damaged your life, then promote a memoir everywhere possible. To critics, that did not look like escape, it looked like control. Maher's real point was that they did not seem to hate publicity itself. They seemed to hate publicity they could not manage, and that is a huge difference. Once people saw that contrast, it became much harder for the couple to look sincere. Then, Maher brought up Queen Elizabeth II, and that comparison stung even more. Here was a woman who carried enormous pressure, scandal, duty, grief, and public scrutiny for decades, and she almost never turned it into public complaint. No big memoir, no emotional TV special, no glossy tell-all campaign. She simply carried the role with discipline. Whether people support the monarchy or not, that image still has power. So placing that beside Harry and Meghan's very public cycle of grievance made the difference look huge and impossible to ignore. That is also why the privilege point hit so hard. It is already difficult for ordinary people to relate to wealthy public figures describing endless suffering. But when those complaints come from inside a giant mansion surrounded by luxury and influence, the gap becomes even wider. Maher basically said what many people were already feeling. Privilege and victim branding do not sit comfortably together. And when a couple seems unable to see that contradiction, critics stop feeling patient and start feeling irritated. That is exactly why his comments spread so fast. Nikki Glaser took the whole thing somewhere even colder because she stripped the romance out of it and reduced it to ambition. She did not treat Meghan like a woman trapped in some tragic media storm. She treated her like someone with major fame goals who found the fastest possible route to global visibility and took it. That is why her comments hit so hard. She was not just making fun of Meghan, she was questioning the motive behind the entire rise, and once motive becomes the issue, everything starts to look more calculated. Nikki's take was brutal in how direct it was. Hollywood was not making Meghan a giant star fast enough, and then along came Harry, the one man who could instantly take her to a completely different level of fame. So in that telling, the relationship was not just emotional, it was strategic. Remove Harry, and critics said Meghan drops back into the crowd of familiar but not unforgettable actresses trying to stay visible. Add Harry, and suddenly she becomes a worldwide obsession. That leap was too dramatic for comedians to ignore, and Nikki made sure people did not miss it. Then things got even more intense when the British comedians entered the picture because their tone often felt less playful and more personally offended. The American hosts were sharp and funny, but the British voices sounded genuinely angry. There was resentment there. There was frustration there. It felt like they were not just mocking celebrities. It felt like they believed Harry and Meghan had taken royal prestige, public support, and institutional protection, then spent years attacking the same system that gave them that platform in the first place. Jimmy Carr went right at one of the contradictions critics loved most. Meghan had built a public image around being strong, modern, and independent. That was a big part of how she was presented. Then, in the eyes of her critics, that whole message seemed to disappear the second a prince entered the picture. Carr let that contradiction sit there and trusted the audience to feel how awkward it was. Then he turned toward Harry and brought up the Nazi costume scandal, reminding everyone that some stains do not vanish just because time passes and PR improves. But for many British critics, the biggest anger was not even the hypocrisy or the old scandals. It was the money. Ordinary people paying bills and raising families looked at royal resources tied to Harry and Meghan and felt insult piled on top of privilege. That resentment ran deep. So when the couple described life as unbearable while living in extreme luxury, it did not just sound dramatic. To critics, it sounded detached from reality. Kelly Osbourne hit that same point hard when she basically argued that struggle is real for everyone, but not everyone gets to tell that story with a mansion, cameras, and a giant deal behind them. And that is where this all keeps circling back to the same harsh truth. People remember, the internet remembers, and no matter how many times someone tries to rebuild the image, those old shadows keep showing up and refusing to let go. What really pushed this story into overdrive was the fact that Simon Rodkin did what most people did not even bother to do. He sat through the entire Netflix documentary from start to finish and gave Harry and Meghan a full shot. He did not just react to clips or repeat online jokes. He watched the whole thing and somehow came out liking them even less. That is what made his reaction hit so hard. The one project that was supposed to repair their image ended up, for a lot of critics, making everything worse. At first, people were actually listening. The documentary opened with serious points about racism, media pressure, and non-stop public scrutiny. For a brief moment, there was goodwill. Some viewers thought this could finally be the project that explained their side clearly. Then Harry described one of his dates with Meghan as pulling the pin on a fun grenade, and the whole mood changed fast. That line landed badly with critics because it sounded forced, dramatic, and way too polished. Instead of sounding romantic, it sounded like somebody trying too hard to make a normal moment sound huge. And once that quote got out there, people would not let it go. It became one of those lines critics used as proof that everything always had to sound bigger and deeper than it really was. Then, Harry complained about having to explain royal protocol to Meghan, and Stephen Colbert cut through the whole thing with one simple line: "Just tell her your grandmother is the Queen." That was it. One sentence. Critics loved that because it stripped away all the build-up and exposed how dragged out the documentary sometimes felt. What was stretched into 6 episodes often sounded, to a lot of viewers, like something that could have been explained in seconds. And then Simon Rodkin dropped his harshest joke of all. He said by episode 6, he was almost rooting for the security threat. Dark joke, yes, but the point behind it was brutal. He was saying they had become so unlikable even inside their own carefully shaped story that viewers were ending up less sympathetic, not more. By then, a lot of British comedians were not even laughing anymore. They sounded genuinely furious, because to critics, this was not just about complaining. It was about publicly attacking the royal family, keeping the titles, keeping the attention, taking the benefits, leaving the country, and still wanting to be seen as the victims. That contradiction kept hitting people the hardest. To them, it looked like Harry and Meghan wanted the freedom of walking away while still holding onto the prestige that came with royal status. Then Conan O'Brien found one of the funniest angles of anyone, and he did it without even needing them in the room. Their wax figures were removed from Madame Tussauds, and Conan turned that tiny detail into a full joke. He tracked down the employee storing them, and the man stared straight into the camera and said he was definitely not doing anything weird with the wax figures. Definitely not. The audience lost it because it was strange enough to be funny and real enough to sting. When your wax statue becomes the joke, public opinion is already in a rough place. Then Conan moved to the jam, and this part was almost too perfect. Meghan launched a lifestyle brand built around small jars of expensive jam, garden jam, Montecito jam, the whole polished image. And instantly critics had a new symbol for everything they said was wrong with her public brand. Here was somebody who framed so much of her story around dignity, freedom, and escaping pressure, and now she was selling luxury jam. The contrast was so sharp, it practically wrote the joke by itself. Conan played it completely straight, which made it even funnier. To critics, that tiny jar summed up the whole image problem. Beautifully packaged, presented like it meant something bigger, marketed like it carried a deeper message. That is why the jam joke spread so fast. It was not really about jam. It was about the feeling that ordinary things kept getting wrapped in elegant branding and sold like they were profound. Then John Oliver stepped in, and his voice mattered more than most because he is not known for cheap shots. He is careful, measured, and usually picks his words with real precision. So when someone like John Oliver looks at Harry and Meghan and says they cannot change, that lands differently. It does not sound like gossip. It sounds like a conclusion, and that was the brutal part. He did not say they would not change. He said they cannot change. That sounds less like a joke and more like a diagnosis. It suggests the cycle has become part of who they are publicly: oversharing, grievance, media complaints, then more media appearances, then the same backlash all over again. But even after the late-night hosts and British comics had their turn, it still did not stop because the internet never sleeps. That is where Spitting Image and South Park pushed things even further. The puppet satire leaned into the idea that Meghan always had to be the nicest person in the room while still sounding like she was talking down to everybody. Then, South Park came in and turned the biggest contradiction of all into one unforgettable phrase: a global privacy tour. That was the line that stuck because it captured the whole problem in 3 words. Harry and Meghan travel, give interviews, do covers, film specials, and keep telling cameras they desperately want privacy. Once South Park framed it that way, it became impossible not to hear the contradiction, and the final joke sealed it. Harry and Meghan searching for a quiet, normal life while a camera crew filmed every second for content. No exaggeration needed, the point was already sitting there. So that was the full pile-on: the documentary Backlash, the Colbert joke, Conan's wax figure bit, the Jam mockery, John Oliver's verdict, the puppet satire, and the South Park privacy tour. Some people think Harry and Meghan earned every bit of it because they kept handing critics fresh material. Others think the backlash got way too personal. So now I want your take. Did they deserve this kind of roasting, or did some people go too far? Drop your honest opinion in the comments, and if you want more videos like this, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and stick around for the next one.